South Carolina defeats Virginia Tech 24-11. South Carolina's defense does not allow a touchdown all game. Offense was shaky at times, but definitely showed some flashes. I think this offense didn't have a weak spot outside of the offensive line. We need to run block a lot better than what we ran blocked. I think Virginia Tech showed to have a really good looking interior defensive line. They had some big defensive tackles out there, but I know they got an Arkansas transfer at nose tackle. He looked really good. I like to see a little bit better on that offensive line, though. I don't know how good Virginia Tech's defensive line is really going to stand out for the rest of the year. But it is week one. We did have Shet Sherratt out. I think that was really big. He did not travel. Shane Beamer did not give a timeline on when he should be back, but he did say he shouldn't be out that much longer. So hopefully, I'd like to see him come out next week and play most of the game against South Carolina State if he is healthy. And there is no injury risk right there just because he is a true freshman. Would like to get him in an easier game, but I would expect if he's not back next week, he will be back for Vanderbilt and we'll get to see his debut. But we need it because that was our worst position on the offensive line. We need to fill that left guard spot. It did not look good in the left guard spot. We had Rodney Newsome go out as starter. Didn't look good. We swapped him out. I believe Tree Babalade played in that spot a little bit. He has not really looked great filling that spot throughout his career. He had a really good debut game against Georgia when he was a true freshman there. And I do believe he played left guard, but really he has shown that he's a lot better at that tackle position, which he definitely gets playing time there behind Josiah, but Josiah holds that role for sure. So we need to figure out what we need to do there, whether it's Shet Sherratt or I think Marquis Anderson. I think he looked really good there when he got in. Maybe not really good, but I think our offensive line took a step up, especially in the pass protection once he got in the game. I think, all in all, I think the best performance from an offensive lineman, I think Kason Henry had a really good game. I could be wrong, but I don't think he allowed any pressures. He was all over the place, got a couple pancakes throughout that game. He looked really good in the run game. He's about the only offensive lineman who looked good in the run game. If you notice, all of our big breakout runs came from that side just about, except for one big Attaway run where Kason Henry slid and blocked up the middle, had a big running start for a block on that play. But I think all in all, Kason Henry looked like the best lineman out there, which is good to see because I think he was our worst offensive lineman on the team last year. It's not anything against him. I also think he was the most improved player on the team last year from game 1 to game 12. We had 0 turnovers on the offense. Our defense got 2 interceptions. Fred Jair Johnson had an amazing game. I think that he's going to be a stud for us. He showed out. So, Vicarious Wayne had a really good game too. Peyton Williams got that other interception. Looked really good. I was surprised Peyton Williams wasn't on the field as much as I thought he would be, but he looked really good when he was. Judge Coyer, he got hurt early in that game, early in the first quarter. Hate to see that. Looks like it's a knee sprain, but it also could be a little bit worse than a knee sprain. I've been hearing it's a knee sprain. It looked worse than a knee sprain to me. But if it is a knee sprain, I think we could, and this isn't coming from any sources, but they will release more about Judge Coyer later this week. Shane Beamer didn't have much to say about it after the game. But if it's a knee sprain, I think we could expect him to be back for probably Missouri, maybe LSU. I don't think we'll see him back. We definitely won't see him back next week. We don't need to put him out there next week, even if he is seeming to be a little bit heavy or healthy and ready to go. I don't think that we need to put him out against South Carolina State. But I'd like to see him back for Vanderbilt, of course. I don't think it's likely. Oh, you know what? We play Kentucky between now and LSU. Definitely want to see him back before LSU game. I think we're looking at Missouri, Kentucky, as long as it's not worse than what they expect with him. Brandon Cisse. I think Brandon Cisse looked really good. That Virginia Tech, wrong game. Virginia Tech had two really good wide receivers, both with the last name Green, and Brandon Cisse, I think, covered very well. He lost a couple one-on-ones. He had that one play that he gave up where he just had he gave him a little bit too much space. Green came back on a comeback and he slipped a little bit, couldn't make the play. Other than that, I think he looked really good. All those 50-50 balls that were caught on him, I mean, any better coverage than that and you're going to get a penalty. And you don't want that. We didn't have many penalties at all on the defense. Really, we didn't have many penalties at all in the game. So we did have one or two delay of games, and then we had a false start, an offsides play. Dylan Stewart lined up offsides. But all in all, we didn't have that many penalties. I will say this. There was some questionable reffing in the first half of that game. I'm not blaming our kind of iffy performance in the first half on that. But Dylan Stewart, he was getting held all first half. I think the way they were yanking on his arm the whole time, I think that had a lot to do with that shoulder injury that he had going into halftime. I know everybody was very relieved to hear them say Dylan Stewart is healthy once the half came back. I actually did not hear them say that. I was surprised they didn't say anything, which I just missed it. But I was very relieved and excited when I saw Dylan Stewart lined up on the defensive line coming out first play of the second half. But I think Dylan Stewart had miles of improvement from last year to this year. I think he looks really good. He was taking a double team most of the game, still getting in on there, causing pressure on the quarterback just about every single play. Had that big sack. I think that sack was really impressive, just the way that he jumped up prevented him from throwing the ball right there. Jones was definitely looking to throw the ball. I don't know that he was looking to throw it to a receiver or if he was just trying to get that ball away. I think he had a receiver open, but it looked like he was looking to the sideline there. But Dylan Stewart saw that he was about to throw and just got his arms up and made a huge play there. Him in the run game, he is twice the run defender that he was last year, just seeing from what he did in that game. Hopefully he continues that throughout the season, but I mean, he was just so fast off that offensive line, and he seemed like he knew in that second half, especially in the fourth quarter, it just seemed like he knew every single time they were running the ball and cut straight to the inside of that line, got to that running back to shut it down. There was one play where he jumps off the line of scrimmage really quick, and after about half a step, like you see him just dart to the quarterback, but about a step and a half in, he cuts back, and before the running back can even get to the line of scrimmage, he's already fighting the center and breaking through to get the running back coming from the edge. I mean, that's impressive. He did not have that type of run defense last year. And it's good to see that, because I was not sure what we were going to get from Dylan Stewart in the run game. I think Brian Thomas looked good. Markel Goodwine looked really good. Nick Barrett looked really good. I really like what we saw from our defensive tackles. All in all, our defense looked very good. Vicari Swain had a heck of a game. Did really good on the defensive side of the ball, and then he had that big punt return, of course. And the blocking on that punt return, the horrible positioning from Virginia Tech on that punt return. I mean, they didn't look like they knew what they were doing out there. The great call from Shane Beamer to re-kick it right there. That's just was an amazing play through and through. And Vicari Swain wasn't even supposed to be our punt returner in that game. I'm curious to see, was that enough to win him the job at punt returner, or will we put Kilgore back out there? I had to swallow my words a little bit. After that second punt he caught, he almost dropped it again. I saw that he maybe I'm wrong, maybe I just was overreacting a little bit to it, but it looked like he almost dropped that ball again. It looked like it moved in his hands, and I was like, we need to get him out of here. Put Jalen Kilgore back out there. He did good last year punt returning. I mean, he did decent last year punt returning when he was out there. Juju McDowell took most of those, but yeah, next punt return he had, well, after they re-kicked it, he was gone. And I think everybody thought that with the 2 punts we almost blocked prior to that, I think everybody thought that we were probably gonna try to get the block right there, but I didn't think we were taking it to the end zone. I didn't think it was gonna be a touchdown, but when I saw how we lined up, I was like, they're gonna have a big return right here. Look how they're lining up. And yeah, that completely changed the rhetoric for the game. I think our offense was able to relax a little bit more, actually get zoned in. Nick Harbor had a huge game, 99 yards on 3 catches, touchdown, should have been 2 touchdowns. That 100% was a catch. I don't know how you define a catch if that's not a catch. But the refs were consistent with that, because Barryon Brown had a very similar play. I think you have more of a case for Nick Harbor's catch being a catch. Like, just unbiasedly, I think Nick Harbor, there's no way, not only to not call that a catch, but to call it a catch and then overturn it. If that was 3rd and 6, that would have been a catch. Or if that was 2nd and 6, I meant. If that was 2nd and 6, I think that would have been a catch. But being 3rd and 6, knowing that we'll have to kick a field goal after that, yeah. I could be wrong though, but I just don't see how that's not a catch. But on some other news, Shane Beamer coached a really good game. Clayton White coached a really good game. I think Mike Shula, for a debut, I have mixed feelings about it. That first drive, it really looked good. I think that drive where we ran the ball very well in the that was either the drive that, I think that was the last drive of the first half, where Nick Harbor caught that touchdown that they overturned. But it might have been later in the second half. I believe it was the last drive of the first half. We broke out a few big run plays. We just kind of kept going straight to the run. I don't like how he ran the ball so many times. It seemed predictable. But we had some guys make some plays. Attaway and Faishon both had some big runs in that. So I'm not going to criticize that, but I don't like how he was calling plays after that first drive. Felt like we were just getting into a Will Muschamp type of predictable play calling, run, run, pass, run, run, pass, run, run, pass. And we got out of it. I think there were definitely moments, though, where Shula called a great game at times. So I'm going to chunk down his first game at offensive coordinator as average. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. I think Dowell Lodgins would have called a much better game. But I just want to see more. I want to talk more about how Shula did, or how Shula does, as I see a little bit more. I don't really know if I like him or not yet. Definitely think he was the right hire. I mean, he's been good in other places. I know what type of offensive coordinator Mike Shula is, but so I do have confidence that he will be good for us this year. But I want to talk about Shane Beamer. Great coach game from Beamer. I think he showed a lot of maturity in this game as a coach. I think there was that 4th and 4 early in the game. Looked like we were going to go for it. We were on our side of the 50. Didn't need to go for it. He lined our people up, and then he ticked the clock down. Let us get that delay of game penalty and punted the ball. Speaking of, our punter, Mason Love, had a great game. I believe he averaged 47.8, correct me if I'm wrong, but 47.8 yards per punt in a first game starting. That's great. Just great game from him. Like to see that. Special teams in general, with how much we had to replace, not just the kicker, not just the punter and the returners, but had to replace the gunners, had to replace a lot of people. Fred Jair Johnson was on special teams last year. He's not out there anymore. He made a lot of big plays for us. Nick Harbor is now the new gunner. He wasn't out there last year gunning for us. We got a new long snapper. Just about every position out there that we have had to be replaced for special teams, and I think that we just had a really good performance on the special teams side. But I want to talk a little bit about Shane Beamer just as a coach. Can Shane Beamer be the next face in college football? Face coach. That might sound like I'm just giving him too much credit. I'm not saying that necessarily just because of how he looked today in this game. I've thought this for a while now. The way he recruits, the way that, I mean, we have one of the best strength and conditioning coaches in the country. He hires really good coaches on staff. I think Torian Gray, which he got a game ball. I think his position group showed out. Him not being able to be there after that car wreck, just prayers to him and his family for speedy recovery. I think he will be back for the next game, but was happy to see he got a game ball there. Kind of expected that. But I think Torian Gray, just an amazing hire for the defensive tackle room. Clayton White has been amazing. Dowell Lodgins was an amazing offensive coordinator hire. All in all, really the only hire I didn't like was our first offensive lines coach we had with him. I'm still iffy about the one we have right now. My bad on not remembering the names of those two guys. And I didn't like Marcus Satterfield. I thought it was a bad hire from the get-go. He didn't do great. But other than that, Beamer has made good hires everywhere. And I want to talk about his record against top 10 opponents. So, tried Googling some stuff about it. Google gave me the wrong answer on it. It said like 1-2 or something like that. He's played more than that many top 10 games. I mean, he's played Georgia 3 times in his career, and Georgia was ranked number 1 2 of those times and number 2 1 of those times. And we beat Tennessee when they were ranked 5th, so it's obvious that we're not 1-2 in those games, because we had top 10 games last year, and that doesn't even show any of those games. But I went and I looked at all the individual games. I don't think I missed any. And we're 3-4 under Shane Beamer in top 10 games. So 3 wins and 4 losses in those top 10 games. Those wins being against Tennessee, Clemson, and Texas A&M. Last year, Clemson was not in the top 10. They were ranked 12th when we beat them. And then last year, we lost to number 12 team in the country twice because Ole Miss was number 12 when they went into Williams-Brice and kicked our butts. But yeah, and then 3 of those losses of the 4 are to Georgia. 2 of those Georgia teams won a championship. That third Georgia team, 90% of the country thought they were the best team in the country and would have won the championship if they were in the playoff. Slaughtered that Florida State team. And then last year's 2-point loss to Alabama, and Alabama missed kick, loses the game. That's a really good record. One thing I want to highlight though, Steve Sarkisian. He is 6-13 in top 10 games. They got hired the same year. Now, clearly he's played a little bit more in those top 10 games. But all in all, I don't think Stark has had easier schedules than us. I think he's just had more top 10 opponents. And largely to do with him being in playoff games and stuff like that. But 1-6 against top 5. Beamer is 1-3 against top 5. I mean, I said part of why I bring this up. I was watching the game with my family yesterday, and I told my dad, I was like, remember when we were in the hiring process and we got Beamer? I know you wanted Sarkisian. A lot of people did. I'm happy with Beamer. I think he's doing better than what Stark could do. I think Stark would have gotten us to where we're at quicker, but I don't think that we would be as good under Stark. I'm happy with the Beamer hire. We didn't have a chance to get Stark anyways, but a lot of Gamecock fans were trying to tell them to push really heavy for Stark, try to get Stark, which would have been a good hire. I'm not saying I don't like us going after a big name like that, but I'm happy with Beamer. I think we are really on the incline going up for. I think we're going to be a contender this year for a championship. Our offensive line definitely has to look better, especially in the run game. But I think all in all, there's some improvement to be made, but it looks like stuff that we can fix up. On the offensive side of the ball, I think we just need some better play calling. I think we need to spread the ball out a little bit more and just have some better blocks. Offensive line gave up 2 sacks in that game. So that doesn't sound like the worst in the world. I will also give this to the offensive line. I think both of those sacks were on Sellers. That safety definitely was. Sellers had space in the pocket to his left and had a lot of wide receivers open. That other sack, I think it could have been avoided if Sellers just stepped a different direction in the pocket. But pressure was getting in on Sellers. He didn't have enough time, I think. Even though the 2 actual sacks that happened were Sellers' fault and not the offensive line's fault, I think that a lot of those pressures, there were multiple times where if we didn't have Sellers, he would have been sacked. This offensive line would have given up 5-6 sacks if we had like a Ryan Helinski out there or a Colin Hill. I think even if we had Luke Doty out there, probably would have given up 3-4 sacks. So, yeah, even though I think Sellers could have done a lot better standing in the pocket, knowing where to go, navigating through, I don't think that's an issue for Sellers. I think it was just first game jitters. I don't think he looked nervous. I think he looked anxious, though, like antsy, trying to, just ready to be out there, too excited, I think, after not playing in so long. And Yeah, so I think Sellers will get better in that department. I think the offensive line really just needs to improve the run game, run blocking. Tight ends blocked very well. Wide receivers blocked very well. But yeah, back to the Shane Beamer thing. Just, I think Shane Beamer really could be one of the next face coaches in the country. Sellers was a 3-star that we've brought in and is now a Heisman contender. Nick Emenwari was a 3-star, went second round of the NFL draft. I think he's going to do really good in the NFL. Nick Emenwari wasn't really scouted much at all during the scouting process. We just brought in 7 quality wide receivers, which, speaking of, I was surprised to see how much Jaden Sellers got out on the field. I gotta eat my words. I was in a comment on Instagram when they were talking about Shane Beamer saying, yeah, a lot of the freshmen will get out there and play. And someone said Jaden Sellers. I was like, I think he's more so talking about Donovan Murph, Lex Cyrus, Malik Clark. I was surprised not to see Lex Cyrus out there. I think with his speed and agility, and just from what I've been hearing from the coaching staff, he might have been out there more than I noticed, but I thought that they had plans to play him. I do think Jaden Sellers is better than Lex Cyrus, but I think just with his speed, agility, just how dangerous he could potentially be in the screen game, I think that's why he might see the field more. But Jaden Sellers saw the field more than most of those wide receivers. I have been hearing he looked good in camp. I've always thought that he was better than a lot of our 4-stars. I just don't think he's better than Malik Clark, Donovan Murph, or Brian Rowe, which I think all those guys are going NFL. It's early to predict that. I mean, they could very easily prove me wrong, look like they're not as good as we expected, but Brian Rowe looked amazing in the spring game. Donovan Murph looked really good out there when he was out there. All of them looked really good. I mean, we only had one freshman get a catch, and that was Donovan Murph. But I think Jaden Sellers, he should have had a big play. Lenoris, I think this was on that second sack, I do believe. He ran out, and he just took too long to throw it. He didn't see Jaden Sellers getting open, which he wasn't open yet, but had he led the pass, he would have led him to an open pass. It was on a crossing route, deep crossing route. And yeah, I think he could have connected big with Jaden Sellers. That was a good route he ran, but there was too much pressure coming in on that left side or on that right side, and Sellers kind of ran into that pressure a little bit. So play didn't happen, but just shows that there is some serious talent in this wide receiver room that we brought in. And that class came in because of Shane Beamer. I don't think a single team in the country recruited wide receiver better than we did last year. So you look between Beamer and Sarkisian, Beamer took on a 2-win program. And I know Texas was not in the best spot in their history when Stark came in, but it's still Texas. It's still a big money school, big football program and they gave Sarkisian an open check to sign players, pretty much. A blank check to go out and get the players he wanted. They got Arch Manning. They got Bijan Robinson. They got Jordan Blue. Just so many different talented, big-name players that they've brought in. Their defenses have been elite, and Beamer's sitting here with a better record in the top 10 games. I think that speaks volumes. I think our strength and conditioning is some of the best in the country, and if you look throughout history, the strength and conditioning has been the number one thing that has won championships. If you look at, I can't remember his name, but you look at that really good strength and conditioning coach that coached on a lot of those Alabama national championship teams. Alabama won their last national championship the year he left, and he went to go and play for Georgia. And then second year at Georgia, Georgia wins back-to-back national championships. It just shows how much that really does affect things. And I think other than him, I think our strength and conditioning coach, Luke Day, I think he is probably the second best in the country at it, just with what we've been seeing from him. The transformation Dylan Stewart made, Urshel Faison, he came in and he gained 18 pounds in this offseason. I mean, we haven't had a single player come in and just the narrative around the player be, well, they can't make the right weight, or they don't look like they look improperly conditioned, or they're overweight, they can't drop the weight they need. I mean, we haven't had that narrative in a long time. I think the last time we had that narrative was with an offensive lineman a few years ago. He was a Muschamp guy, but he played a few years with Beamer. I can't remember his name. He was a left guard. He was the left guard that we had before Babalade came in. And he was supposed to be really good, and then he just lost a lot of weight. I think he got sick from something, and then he was never the same again. Can't remember his name. That's bothering me. But yeah, since him, we haven't seen something like that happen at all under Beamer, I don't think. So I'm really excited for this season. We got South Carolina State next week. I think we looked really good against Virginia Tech. I think there were definitely some things on offense to clean up. Lenore Sellers, I think he needs to go through his progressions quicker, get the ball out quicker on some plays. Beamer talked about that a little bit. And I think he is showing improvement. I don't think he would have thrown that post route to Harbor that hit big for the touchdown last year. I think he would have overlooked that. So there's definitely some improvement there. Not only that, but Beamer mentioned that. He talked about it. He had to coach him to make that throw in practice this year. He was like, we have that play. We ran that play a lot in practice. Harbor's on the post. And Harbor got open one day in practice, just wide open, just like he did today, and Sellers didn't throw it to him. He threw it to Mazio on the route that Mazio was running. I think he said it was a zig. And Beamer said that he told somebody on the field, it was one of the players, can't remember the name, to go over there and tell him that play, you throw that post route. And he started doing better since. Today, you saw what happened. He threw the post route. That's what Beamer had to say about it. I think that it's cool that we get to hear some stories like that from Beamer. Some coaches don't really like to say anything about that type of stuff, what's going on in practice. Beamer, as long as it's after they succeed on their play, doesn't seem to care. You're not going to hear much about that from him if it's heading into a big game but that's a good thing. I like how Beamer does with what he does tell us, and what he's just like, sorry man, can't tell you that. So, but all in all, I think it was a good performance from the offense. Need to touch up on some things outside of the offensive line work. I think all the mistakes that we made are very coachable, very fixable. I think Sellers will look better in the pocket throughout the season. I think last year he had better pocket presence than that at times. I don't think his pocket presence was bad during the game. I'm not saying like he just did horrible in the pocket all game. A handful of plays. Just a handful of plays. Both of those sacks. A couple other plays where he got some pressure, and he just seemed like he was climbing up a little bit too high yesterday. Just climbed up a little bit too high up in there. So I think that'll get worked on a lot. And I think a lot of it had to do with that interior defensive line for Virginia Tech. I will say our left guard did not look good no matter who was put in there. I think Marky Anderson looked best out of everybody there. But to give them a little bit of a break with that, I mean, look at that defensive tackle Virginia Tech had from Arkansas. He had a crazy good game. He's huge. He looks fast. I mean, I want to see what they look like against a normal-sized defensive tackle. So, but Virginia Tech does not, I mean, I could be wrong about this, but I don't think Virginia Tech has the best offense or defensive line in the ACC. I don't think Virginia Tech has, if they were in the SEC, I don't think they'd even have a top half of the league defensive line. I don't think their defensive line is bad. It looked a lot better than I expected, but I don't think that this is a defensive line that should be getting in that much pressure on an offensive line that averages 325 pounds. I just don't. So I hope that when we get Shet Sherratt in the game a little bit, I hope he looks really good. I hope that we can figure out the right guys to get out there. It's week 1. A lot of teams looked similar to how we looked week 1, where they just had a lot to clean up. Michigan has a lot to clean up. They didn't look amazing, and they played New Mexico. Tennessee has a lot to clean up on that defense. Their run defense looks pretty bad. I mean, they looked a little bit more consistent on offense than we did. But overall, they've got a lot to clean up. Texas has a ton to clean up. Arch Manning, he spoiled the bed. He didn't look good at all. I mean, I knew he wasn't as good as people were propping him up to be, and I think he'll be fine. I think Arch Manning's going to be fine. He's definitely an overrated quarterback. I mean, a lot of people knew this going into the season. He did not have a red shirt last year and still sat behind Quinn Ewers. Shows Quinn Ewers was a better quarterback than him. Doesn't mean that's going to stay that way. It could have been very close. It probably was very close, but if Quinn Ewers is the better quarterback and it's very close, they're going to keep Quinn Ewers in and let Arch learn the playbook a little bit more. He was playing in the shoe against Ohio State, and by the end of the game, he had 170 yards. Only threw 1 interception. Could have been better not throwing any interceptions. I don't like how he throws the ball. I like how Mahomes can sidearm it when he needs to, stuff like that. I like to see a quarterback who knows how to sidearm it with every play, every throw he makes. I think that's a lot of the reason why he was getting those really bad low throw passes. I mean, first throw he made in the game, I was like, that just looks awful. Hopefully he doesn't see that throughout the rest of the game, because I hate Ohio State. I was rooting for Texas to win. I'm glad Texas lost. I just wish they lost to a different team, because I don't want Texas to have 10 wins. I want as little SEC teams to have 10 wins as possible. Not that I mean, I'm an SEC guy. I want to see SEC dominance, but I think we're going to get that SEC dominance out of Georgia and Florida. I don't want to see, and I think that we could be another team that shows that SEC dominance. I have my schedule record for prediction for us was 11-1. Standing true to that. I think that's what we're going to be. Got to think, last year we looked awful against Old Dominion. Last year Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. They're a 10-win team in the playoff had they won that. Georgia, 11-win team. They had a 1-point game to Kentucky. You know, teams don't always look their best and wind up looking a lot better afterwards. So the fact that I don't like that we struggled as much on offense in the second and third quarter, but especially being that we did not get that many penalties, we really didn't make that many big mistakes. We just weren't able to move the ball. But I think that's a bright side, though, that we didn't make that many mistakes. We didn't have that many penalties. Sellers did a great job protecting the ball. He had that one fumble, but we jumped on it immediately. And yeah, I think all in all it looked really good. I think our offense is going to be a bright spot on our team this year. I'm glad that our defense isn't getting to a slow start like I expected. This game could have been a lot uglier if our defense was onto a slow start like I expected, but we played really good against Kyron Jones. I mean, we let him run around a lot, get away from our tacklers, but we didn't let him cross that line of scrimmage much. He was just kind of trying to buy time for himself. I think it was because our linebackers played so well. He wasn't getting very far if he crossed the line of scrimmage, so he just kept trying to throw it. And Kyron Jones, he can run. He built a lot of time on some of those plays for his receivers to get open, and our secondary kept a tight blanket out there. A lot of big play action plays where Kyron Jones is just running all around, evades Brian Thomas. Dylan Stewart gets picked up by the running back, kind of falls over, runs around, and just constantly motioning guys, trying to get somebody open, and no one's getting open. So I think just in every spot of our defense, we looked really good. A lot of people thought defensive tackle would be a liability. It's not going to be a liability. I can already tell from what I saw it's not going to be a liability. It's not like Virginia Tech. I don't think Virginia Tech's got this amazing offensive line. I mean, we didn't get many sacks. I believe Dylan Stewart got one. I know Dylan Stewart got one sack. I'm not sure if that was the only sack of the game, but it might have been the only sack of the game we got. But we got a lot of pressure in on that quarterback. We broke through their line on the run game a lot. I mean, we swallowed their run game up in the second half. Could have been a little bit better in the first half, but our run defense looked a lot better than I expected it to look. And yeah, I think all around, Justin O had a really good game. Sean Murphy had a really good game. These are some guys that we had questions about with their experience. None of our linebackers looked inexperienced at all. It's like Beamer said, they're not very experienced, but you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at them in camp, is what Beamer said, and that really showed. But Fred Jair Johnson got Defensive Player of the Week for the SEC. He definitely deserved it, had an amazing game, and why am I remembering part? I feel stupid. I was talking about him earlier. At the punt return, Special Teams Player of the Week. I do apologize for that. I'm having a brain fart. I know his name. Bakari Swain. I don't know why it took me so long to remember that. Bakari Swain had Special Teams Player of the Week. Sadly, we did not have an offensive player get Offensive Player of the Week. Nick Harbor did have an amazing game. Sellers had an amazing game. Sellers, I think, could have had a better game, but running the ball, Sellers just looked fantastic running the ball. He didn't break a big run off, but he had that touchdown run, had a couple of huge first down runs, had that one run where they got to him quick. He just shoved the guy off and then broke a foot tackle, like ankle tackle off of another guy, and then outran one of their corners. And the safety came charging in. He just slides out of bounds about a yard past the first down marker, avoids the hit. I like seeing that. I mean, he looked like he couldn't be taken down at certain points. I will say this, though. They did a good job tackling Sellers compared to most teams. Virginia Tech, I'd say both teams, actually. Both us and Virginia Tech did a really good job tackling players. I think our defensive ends could have maybe tackled Jones a little bit better, but Jones is very fast. I mean, our defensive ends had no problem tackling their running back, especially Dylan Stewart. So, but all in all, I think it was clean tackling from both teams. I haven't seen a team wrap Sellers up and get him to the ground as well as Virginia Tech his whole career. So take that with you how you want, but that just shows that this team that we played was not a bad team. They did a good job of just wrapping his legs up. And there's not much you can do when you wrap a guy's legs up to get away. So I'm guessing that comes from having to practice against Kyron Jones every week. Virginia Tech plays Vanderbilt next week. I will be keeping a very good eye on that game. It should be an amazing game. I think Virginia Tech is going to look really good in that game. I want to see what Vanderbilt looks like. We play Vanderbilt in 2 weeks. That's our next, better be our next challenging game. South Carolina State plays us well. I'm gonna be scared if South Carolina State plays as well. I don't expect that. We're gonna blow South Carolina State out. So I want to see our freshmen get involved in that game a lot more. Like I said, I hope Chet Surratt shows up in that game. I hope he's healthy. I want to see what offensive line group comes out there. If it's not Chet Surratt, because either they just didn't want him playing starter snaps because he's still banged up or he couldn't play in general, I think I want to see Marquis Anderson go out there at that left guard position. I think Boaz Stanley had some bad plays, had some good plays. I want to see him line up at center. Definitely want to see Case and Henry out there. I think that's a given. Trevon Baugh at at right guard. I think he looked like one of our better offensive linemen in that game. I really think it was that left side in the run game. I think the right side kind of messed up a little bit in the pass game, but Sellers also kept running into that right side of the offensive line and running to the pressure on that right side. And that's why I say that Sellers kind of didn't hold the pocket as well as he usually does. So I think the pass pro was a lot better than the run blocking, but I think we do need to see lots of improvement in both. There was too much pressure on Sellers that game. It felt like in that third quarter, Sellers was not playing bad in that third quarter, and he just couldn't do nothing because there was too much pressure getting in on him. Mazeo Bennett didn't get a catch in this game, I don't think. He might have got one. I'm pretty sure he didn't get a single catch. There was that one throw. I think Mazeo should have caught it. It wasn't the best throw. I think Mazeo should have caught it. Beamer talked about it. He blamed Sellers for it, said he didn't throw it early enough. Really don't think it was that late of a throw. I think he just threw it too high for Mazeo, but it was a little close to his head. But I mean, when you got the ball right here, and you should catch that ball. So, but he was running pretty fast. The ball was thrown very hard. I see why he dropped it. But I want to see Mazeo get involved more. I want to see our freshmen have a big week next week. I want to see Sellers air it out against South Carolina State. I want to see him pass for 400 yards in that game. I don't want it to be a run fest. I do want to see our running backs get a lot of carries. I want to see what Augustine does. He didn't get a single touch. I want to see what some of our younger running backs, Fuller and Howell, do. And I want to just see Faison break off some tackles. I want to see him get into open space. He had a 32-yard run yesterday. I want to see more of that. Attaway had a really good game. I was very impressed with Attaway. Our running backs, Faison, I believe, had 40 yards on 8 carries, and Attaway had 60 yards on 14 carries, I do believe. Sellers was that is not the right, yeah, That is not right. I wrote down Sellers' numbers in my notes. He definitely was not 2 of 19 throwing. I think that's supposed to say 12 of 19 for 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He ran for 20-something yards, I do believe. I think it was 26 yards rushing. I will say, though, his rushing yards, he had a lot more rushing yards than that. That's rushing yards, they subtract sack yards. And there were a couple of run plays that got blown up due to the offensive line. I think that there's probably about 15 yards of give there, if not more, because that one sack where he got taken down, not the safety, but the other sack, he lost a good bit on that. Obviously, he didn't lose many yards on the safety. I don't know if they count the yards back into the end zone or if it's just how many yards away you are from the end zone, but... And then there were a couple of run plays where Sellers got it and it got blown up. It was the offensive line's doing. So, yeah, I do think that the rushing stats don't look as good as it was. Sellers definitely had, he had 2 10-yard rushes, 10-plus yard rushes to get a first down, and he had I do believe that was a 16-yard rushing touchdown. So those 3 runs alone make up more than 20-plus yards. Those 3 alone are well over 30 yards. But yeah, I'm excited for this season. I'm excited to see what our freshmen can do next week. I will be looking very carefully at that Virginia Tech Vanderbilt game to see what Vanderbilt looks like against the opponent that we just played. If Vanderbilt goes out there and beats Virginia Tech 54-7, I think I'm gonna cry. Because I really think we're supposed to be really good this year, but I don't see that happening. I think Virginia Tech might even be able to pull off the upset. I think Virginia Tech was looking at these 2 games knowing they have to pull off one of these 2 games. But Diego Pavia is a great quarterback, and I think Vanderbilt, I have that game circled for us as a trap game, upset alert game. I think they're a really good team this year. I'm definitely not expecting them to lose to Virginia Tech. With how Virginia Tech played us, I would not be surprised if they give Vanderbilt a really good game. I'm like 50-50 on who I think's gonna win. Kyron Drones looked really good. If they can fix some consistency on that team, they built a good defense out there. Their wide receivers looked amazing. I think Kyron Drones threw for more yards than Sellers did. I think he threw for 226. I think something like that. But that was all on his receivers. Both of the green guys at receiver played amazing. One had 70-something yards. I think it was 74. Another receiver had 94. Another one of their receivers had 40. So it was a good game passing for them, a much better game passing than I expected. I thought that we would shut down the pass completely and they would dominate in the run game. But I was very wrong about how this game would go. Both teams didn't score as much as I thought they would. I didn't expect us to not give up a touchdown. I think that people weren't talking about that enough. I think that is just so impressive from our defense. Opening game against a very fiery offense that took a lot of really good, really talented teams down to the wire in shootout games last year. Most of the country was watching that Virginia Tech-Miami game come fourth quarter, and most of the country agrees that Miami should not have won that game. Virginia Tech got robbed at the end of that game. I believe it was a 4-point game. Virginia Tech threw it into the end zone, and they said that they didn't get it. They definitely got it. I believe that was on 4th down. I think that was the final play of the game. And it was just a bad blown call. And I think Virginia Tech improved upon last year from what they got in the transfer portal. They lost a lot in the transfer portal too. They were a very injured team last year. 4 new offensive linemen, I do believe, for Virginia Tech. So it'll be interesting how they look versus Vanderbilt. But if they show that fire-powered offense that I believe they can have, Vanderbilt's defense, I don't know how they've gotten better or worse on the defense last year. They've probably gotten a little bit better, but their defense didn't impress me last year. It was their offense that I really liked. So I think it'll be very concerning if Virginia Tech doesn't put up a couple touchdowns on Vanderbilt. But I expect Virginia Tech to do pretty good in that game. Not necessarily win. Diego Pavia, I think, will throw all over that defense. I think Vanderbilt's offensive line will have a better showing than ours did. I think they'll actually be able to run the ball a little bit. But I hope not. I hope that Vanderbilt has the same issues we have. It'll make me think more of the offensive line. But that's it for this video. Hope y'all have a good rest of your day, and go Gamecocks.